Welcome in. It's another edition of the RSL show. Alex Napoles, Josh Clark. Josh, I'd ask you how you're doing, but I feel like right now we're kind of in a state of emergency, and so that's what we're gonna base this episode on. It's a state of emergency pod for the RSL show today.
Oh boy, is it not?
Oh
Is
man.
it not, Alex? Did we not have a feeling this was coming? Did the entire fan base not have a feeling this was coming? Let's be honest. Let's have this discussion. Did anyone outside of Trey think we were going to go down there and pull a result?
I mean, we talked about it last week. You and I sat here and we had the conversation that it probably wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah, I said it won't happen. If I remember correctly, I never had hope to begin with, and that's not a good feeling.
Well, it happened.
You know how badly I wish we were getting on here and I was eating crow and being like, "Oh man, they really surprised us."
Oh, absolutely.
But it did not, and here we
It
are.
did not. It did not. If you've been living under a rock and you haven't been following along, or you just decided to not follow Real Salt Lake for the last couple of weeks,
Crawl back under.
Real Salt Lake have unfortunately fallen to the Houston Dynamo 4-1. And look, it's not a 3-0 loss, but it is a 3-goal loss.
It may as well be a 3-goal loss. I mean, like a 3-0, right? The goal we scored, we didn't score
Wasn't
it.
even ours. Yeah, wasn't even Real Salt Lake. So Real Salt Lake fall 4-1 on the road to the Houston Dynamo. We were talking about it last week, how it was going to be a tough match. We didn't really have high hopes for it, but now that it's happened, I feel incredibly, oh man, what's the word?
Salty,
Salty could be one.
frustrated, baffled.
I guess it was just a deception, right? I guess we got our hopes up, and this team was giving us hope.
We had every reason to have our hopes up, man.
But you know what? It's the hope that kills you.
That'll kill you. Yep. Let's just kind of get into it. I don't know what's wrong with this club, right? I don't know how to diagnose it, and that's a really tough thing, right? Clearly, it's been about a 2-month stretch, which is not that many games, right, because of breaks and whatnot. But for 2 months now, we've had Chicho suspensions, we've had multiple defensive injuries, we've had new faces come in, an important old face go out. So, like, clearly there's a lot of factors, but what I don't understand is that when you watch these matches, the guys on the field, they just don't seem to give a shit, right? You don't see that fire you saw earlier in the season. You don't see the pressing. You don't see the tackles. You don't see the possession. All you see is giveaways and, guys looking lost. And it's honestly just baffling. I don't know what's happened. And, Pablo's supposedly the man motivator, and he had us sold the first half of the season, but what's happened? I don't know. This is the age-old question. And I know there's people out there screaming right now, it's Gomez, it's Gomez. Like, this is not all Gomez.
I think it goes a little bit further than Gomez.
Right, because even when Gomez was here, right, we scored a couple more goals, but he was here at the beginning of the downturn, so to speak. So that's where I'm at. Where are you at?
I think that Chicho Arango suspension really changed the trajectory of where this season was going, man. Super bummed to even think about that. To put it into context, Real Salt Lake have played 8 games in the last 3 months. So, I mean, not a whole lot, but there has been nothing in those 8 matches that have really inspired confidence about this team. They're 2 wins, 1 draws, and the rest have been losses in those 8 matches. We talked about it, Josh, at a pretty extensive length about how this was the easiest part of Real Salt Lake's schedule. And for some reason, it seems like this is the most difficult part of Real Salt Lake's schedule.
It's baffling, right? I know Houston's not an easy side to go and beat, but you drop points at home to San Jose.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, where is this coming from? Where is RSL at?
I think just from watching the Houston game, watching what happened down there in the Space City, a lot of defensive ball watching.
Oh, yeah.
You go back and you look at those goals that Houston scored. A lot of it can be attributed to ball watching, because 2 that I can think of right at the top of my head. I mean, Bossi's first goal as well as Kowalczyk's the third goal that Houston scored.
Mm-hmm.
It was off rebounds. It was off, oh, we can't clear our lines. The ball's going to end up at a Houston player, and no one's going to move to close them down.
No.
We're all just going to stand there and watch the ball land at Amin Bassi's feet and let him take a volley from the top of the 18. We're all just going to watch the ball land at Kowalczyk's feet, and he's going to put the ball into the back of the net. We're just going to watch. We're just going to watch this ball. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's not just one guy ball watching.
It's the whole team.
It's the entire defensive unit. You can see Justin Glad watching the ball. You can see Philip Quinton watching the ball. You can see, I hate to say it, Emeka Anelli watching the ball.
Ojeda, all of them.
Literally, the entire guys who we rely on to defend the net are just watching those rebounds land at Houston players, and they're happily putting them into the back of the net.
Right. Well, because it's a free goal, essentially. And, still too early, and I feel kind of bad for this, but, Gavin Beavers isn't looking great either. I'm not saying, like, he shouldn't start anymore. I think he's the starter, but it's getting back to him to where it's making him look bad.
Right.
And having us question if he's the number one.
Right. A lot of questions defensively for this team, but I think it also needs to be addressed that this was a high-flying Real Salt Lake prior to the Leagues Cup break, and you only score one goal in Houston, which, I mean, I don't know if we can count it because it was that own goal. You do get the 2 against New England, but you don't score against San Jose at home. You didn't score against Houston the last time you were down there. And then you go back to Colorado, and the two goals Real Salt Lake scored there, guy's not even on the team anymore.
Yeah, we're not producing like an offensive juggernaut, and we're not defending like a defensive juggernaut like we were. We don't have either side of the field clicking, so it's just a whole lot of bleh, right?
Yep. Yeah, and we see it. We saw it in Houston, man. We saw it in Houston. I think honestly, we can attribute the New England win. I wanted to, say that Real Salt Lake was kind of steering the ship in the right direction.
You were hoping they were, but let's be real, we didn't look good in that game either.
No, it was not the best of performances, and I think Real Salt Lake were able to do a good job of capitalizing on a New England who's struggling. But now you look at this Houston game in reverse, and it looks like this team has taken 5 steps back.
Yeah, we don't look good whatsoever, and I mean, do you have any idea what it could be?
Lack of connection in the midfield, lack of defensive cohesion. Whatever happened between the Atlanta United game and that Portland game, whatever bad juju was drafted upon Real Salt Lake in that little span, has clearly affected this team.
Yeah, I don't know. I would love. It's getting to the point, if we don't right the ship at some point, that this drop off should be studied. Yeah. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Last week, Josh, we sat down here and we talked about how if Real Salt Lake falls in this one, Colorado gets a win, Seattle gets a win. Colorado jumps Real Salt Lake on the table, and Seattle would be just 1 point behind Real Salt Lake. Well, that happened.
Remember earlier this year, and we're like, dang, are we going to make the playoffs and not have to worry about it? Like, decision day is not going to really matter.
Boy,
Bro, we're borderline not making the playoffs right now.
If this trend continues, Real Salt Lake could very well.
We will miss the playoffs.
Yes. Which is kind of crazy to think that Real Salt Lake's sitting at 47 points and they're just going to tumble to fight for that 8th or 9th place if this trend continues.
If we miss the playoffs after this year's start,
oof,
would the conversation of Pablo leaving have to be on the table?
I think it's something that we'd have to discuss. Yes.
I think so too, because this is inexcusable. What's going on right now is inexcusable.
It is very inexcusable.
I know Houston's a tough team. I know they have your number. I know you're in Houston and things haven't been going well, but like, can you pretend to be trying?
But you also had 2 weeks because of the international break to get ready for this Houston side.
That makes it worse, Alex.
That's what I'm saying. The only problem, or the only player missing, I should say, was Marchik, who went to go play for the Poland U20. Other than that, you had everybody at your disposal. And I mean, of course, the players who are out injured, but still, you had 2 weeks to prepare for this Houston side, and yet you seem like you had no answers. You had no answers for Houston.
Right. I feel like I just watched a men's league team get out of their cars in the parking lot to come up and play.
No.
I haven't been this frustrated with an RSL side since like the Petke era.
I think I would agree with you on that one.
In a stretch, right? Obviously, there's been frustrating moments, but this stretch, bro, if we wouldn't have had the beginning of the year we had, we would all be screaming Pablo needs to go right now.
Yeah, probably. And that actually brings up a good point. And I want to pose this question for you. Had, you know, did Real Salt Lake having this amazing start where you're fighting for the top of the table, you're in the supporter shield race for the first time in forever, did that set the bar just a little bit too high for us?
No, why would it have?
Just the fan expectation, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
So my counter to that is so we should never expect to be good. We should expect to be mediocre. We should expect to only go on little stretches, but nothing more.
So then, I mean, in the past, we've seen Real Salt Lake be hot at the right in the middle of the summer and then
Right.
fade away. Now we have an early start to the year where Real Salt Lake looks really good, and now again we're fading into the summer. So what? I guess
What changes?
what changes?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
It's weird.
It just doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense. Real Salt Lake fall 4-1 to the Houston Dynamo.
I know. I still fully support us selling Andres Gomez.
Yes.
Right. I fully support it. I still fully support the new players coming in. But at what point do you put Matt Crooks back in the lineup until Diogo can figure it out? Because right now, dude looks like Urim of Sicilian out there, right? Invisible, doing nothing for RSL.
And that's a very good point. At some point, adjustments need to be made, and like you mentioned, they're new. It's going to take a while for them to gel, but obviously, whatever's happening right now on the field isn't working.
Right. I feel like maybe it's time to bring someone back into the rotation that knows how RSL plays.
Like a Matt Crooks.
Right. And I'm honestly, I love Brown, right? I'm big on Brooke. Those two I'm fine with what their performances. But Diogo, not around. He's invisible on the field, right? He's
right.
Hasn't even put up an assist yet, right? Like nothing.
Which is kind of crazy because like I wouldn't have expected that from we talked about it, Josh, where we said he's a 27-year-old who just played Champions League soccer.
He was coming over
from Champions League experience, and he just seems lost out there.
He doesn't look like he's played in CONCACAF Champions League, bro. Like
he just looks lost.
So lost. And
I hate to say it because I see the potential. I see what he brings and
I know he'll come good.
Exactly.
I know he will, but at this point in time in our season, maybe put Matt Crooks back in.
Right.
Just maybe. Chicho dropping back as deep as he does with no one covering his quote-unquote zone, aka Diogo. The amount of times he's tracking back, we're winning the ball back, and it's dropping to where Chicho should be at the 9 and no one's there is really getting old to me.
Well, I mean, it's Chicho's a competitor. Chicho's a fighter, and he's going to want to go and get the ball. It happens a lot with strikers who just aren't fed. It happens. Right. You see it a lot.
This is where I'm headed.
Right.
Right.
You see it a lot when strikers aren't getting the ball. They'll drop back to find the ball, and that's not necessarily what you want because when the balls are played in, no one's there. No one's there at the end of it. Yep. And Chicho, that's just his attitude. That's just who he is. He wants the ball. He wants.
I'm not mad at Chicho for doing it. I'm annoyed that he's not getting fed, and I'm annoyed that when he is dropping back to the 6, why is no one rotating and filling in that position? Nobody.
I would have liked to say that the one positive out of this game was that Chicho broke the 18-goal record, but they didn't even count it for Chicho.
It's because
it was an own goal.
Yeah,
wild. So we can't even be happy about that.
I know. We can't have anything nice right now.
I know.
Nothing.
I know.
Santa stole Christmas, Alex.
Taking a look at the RSL Show Twitter account, we said send us your hottest takes on the current state of Real Salt Lake. So let's dive and react to some of those. Josh, our good friend Scott at YoCD Shaggy says Luna gets a lot of hype for being silent most games.
He's been quiet, but he's also been the only guy trying to attack right now. And I think him trying to do too much is problematic. Right? Does that make sense to you?
I feel like with Luna, very similar to Arango in he wants the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to go find the ball because the ball is just not getting to him. I don't know if we can necessarily judge a lot of what Luna's done over the course of the past couple weeks, just because, I mean, yes, he's been invisible, but I don't necessarily think that's on him. I just think that we can't feed our attack right now.
Yeah, I think our entire attack is invisible.
Again, because we can't feed him.
Right.
And that's a problem.
Because we're not pressing and we're not winning the ball back in dangerous areas.
And you know what? Let's talk about that.
We're giving the ball away.
Let's talk
in
about
the dumbest positions constantly.
What happened to Real Salt Lake's press?
That's what I mean. They're not motivated to do it. Or is Pablo saying, let's not press anymore? I don't understand.
No.
I don't understand. No one is pressing. Not the way they were. If they're pressing, it's a very soft press. It's a, hey, I'm in your area. I'm going to take the ball from you if you don't pay attention. Tee-hee. Right?
I would argue, and I would say that prior to the month of July, Real Salt Lake were the best pressing team in the entire league.
And that's why we were good.
You wanted to play the ball out of the back. There was no way you could because Chicho Arango was in your face.
Yeah.
Luna was in your face.
Gomez was in your face.
Gomez, yeah. Anelli, whoever was pressing you was in your face, and you made the mistake. You had the ball away, and that put Real Salt Lake in amazing attacking opportunities. And I honestly can't think of a game where Real Salt Lake's press looked good. I mean, there was moments in LAFC,
fleeting moments.
But that was really it.
Yeah. We have not pressed, and since we have not pressed, we've looked horrendous.
The last time I was happy with the pressing Real Salt Lake, and the last time I thought Real Salt Lake looked good on the press was LAFC.
Yeah.
And I can't say that I've been impressed with the press. Or
because it's non-existent. You can't be impressed with something that's not there. And then, knowing how Houston play, knowing you're away, knowing you need points in this table, you go into Houston and essentially park the bus? What are we doing? You cannot win in this league, right? The reason we were so successful on the road, during our glory days, which didn't last very long, was because we did not follow the template of get 3 points at home, get a draw away, and park the bus. We followed the template of this is RSL. We press the ball. We play the way we want to play. We push the tempo, and we win the damn game. That's gone, right? You can't. That whole adage of you got to play safe away. No, you don't. No, you don't. Go out there and smack them in the face and win the damn game away and bum out all their fans. Right? It worked for us. Why did we stop? I would love anyone but Trey, because I don't want to hear it from Trey, because I hear different, like, I want a non-Trey version from the club as to why we stopped doing that. And I don't want to hear we're still doing it. I don't want to hear it's because we have new guys here. Because guess what? You tell that new guy, go pressure, you're not on the field. Right? And I'm sorry I didn't mean to call out Trey. I just knew he'd be the one to reach out if anyone did. But I want to hear from someone else, damn it. Oh, I haven't been... Dude, this is going to sound horrible. I kind of miss being this fired up about sucking. It feels like I'm just on AM radio screaming about nothing. I kind of enjoy it.
No, it's good. It's good.
I kind of enjoy it, Alex. But no, I would much rather us be successful in winning. But
Right.
Salty Josh just likes to come out sometimes, and it's good to let him out. It's been pent up.
This is a whole season in the build-up right here for you.
You know how hard it is now that we're on KSL for me to not make swears right now?
Oh, I'm already marking where I got to go take out the...
You don't have to take the S's out.
The naughties.
There's only one S so far. Leave it in. Don't
All right.
Sorry, Bill.
Back to your point. I do think it's bold for Real Salt Lake to go and park the bus in Houston, in a place where, one, you haven't won in forever. Two, a place where you go down there and you just get beat. You get taken to the dry washers. You get sent to whatever phrase you want to say.
Yeah.
And you go and you park the bus?
Yep. And then you're supposed to hear, oh well, you park the bus to hopefully get a point. No, you park the bus and get worked. That's what happens. We're not a countering team anymore. We can't stretch the field without Andres Gomez. Where do you think the counter is going to come from? That's the only way you score when you park the bus. That or you get lucky with a little bit of possession, right? Now we can't stretch the field. You can't play a quick ball over the top because Chicho's not going to catch it. I love Chicho, but he's not fast. You know what I mean? Like, what's the plan here? There's no plan. We have to go, and this might be the issue, right? We have to change our tactics a little bit to fit the personnel, because as soon as we move personnel around and you don't have Andres Gomez on the wing to stretch the field like you need to, then that tactic doesn't work, right? So now we need to see the coaching staff pull their chops together and figure out something that will work.
And I think the hope eventually down the line, you get Brook in that situation, you get Marchik in that situation, but again, they're new guys. It's going to take a minute for us to get to that point. It's not working right now.
Until you do, let's see you address it.
There you go.
Let's right the ship. I don't care if we finish out the season with draws, but we can't be getting beaten at home by San Jose. We can't be going into Houston and getting manhandled, right? Manhandled, embarrassed. You're the number 3 team in the West, and you go into Houston and leave like that?
War.
Right? It's unbelievable.
Bill Stanton at M81M.
Well, I said sorry, Bill, earlier. What's up, Bill?
Oh.
That's the original sorry, Bill.
Oh, gotcha. Bill Stanton. Sorry, Bill. Since the emotional high of the streak ended, we have fallen apart. But if we can put it all back together and hit it at the right time, we could win it all. But the team is in a funk. I don't know if they need a players only meeting, a fishing trip, but they need some good juju.
Let's do all of it, because I totally agree. But here's the other frustrating part. And all of these Instagram posts, with the players going around town and doing cool stuff, Diogo's with them.
Yeah, that's the issue. That's a valid point.
Yeah. So there's your fishing trips. I mean, I know it's not all of you guys together, and you're not. I think they need to go like sleep under the stars with no technology and have to catch their own food type fishing trip. Have some real bonding, but I mean, they're all boys. I don't think anyone's not getting along in the locker room. We don't have a Savarino in there turning everyone sour. But yes, I'll have a meeting with them. I'll shred them. Just kidding. I would cower. They'd yell back, and I'd be like, "I'm sorry, guys."
Apologies to Bill. There was a second part of a first tweet. So the first part of his tweet says, team has been in a funk since the Portland game in June. The suspension for Chicho, the injuries, Leagues Cup break, international breaks, transfers, all have prevented any semblance of rhythm and consistency. Yep. It's not all on Gomez. We were starting to struggle before.
Mm-hmm. You hit it right on the head.
Just what we were talking about earlier, Bill.
Yeah. And for all the arguments about you can't sub players and you can't do this, mid-season stuff, like every team in the world does that, right? It's not a new concept. So, well, yes, it sucks like that. If that's the root of the problem, that's a coaching issue.
Bart at Bardicus, shout out Bardicus, says, in our current form, we're probably the worst team in the league. I see us winning maybe one more game this season.
For lucky.
Wow. Yeah.
We're not beating Portland at home.
I said it. I said it was going to be a tough match.
Yeah. Vancouver's going to be dicey. Dallas, we should be Dallas, but should means
we'll hold on to that. We'll hold on to that. And we'll have that conversation.
Yeah.
We'll have that conversation after we read all these, but I do want to get your thoughts and your takes on the outlook of the rest of the schedule for Real Salt Lake. But first, at Eli D from UT, it's interesting in my mind. It's usually the opposite. Real Salt Lake starts the season rough and then has a hot streak at the end. Funny enough, I think just like usual, we will end in the middle of the pack, but this time it feels worse because the beginning of the season set high expectations. That's
Yeah,
what I
so
was saying.
kind of go back to what we talked about earlier, and you know what? That does feel worse, right?
It
At
does.
least when you start at the beginning of the year, your expectation is like, man, we'll be lucky to make the playoffs, and if we do, cool. But now we had the expectation that we could have potential 3 cup runs this year.
Bro, Josh, back in May we were talking about a treble.
Look at us getting ahead of ourselves.
Back in May we were talking about how Rouse Lake could go for all 3.
And then RSL did us dirty like we should all be used to.
and that's kind of where I was getting at with my point earlier. It's just, if Rouse Lake started off bad, had a hot streak in the summer, and then came back down to earth, I think I would feel a little bit better. But I personally did set my bar of expectations maybe a little bit too high.
All right. Well, I still stand by what I said, right? About we should always have a high expectation or whatever. But I do agree that it does feel worse.
Yes.
Going from really good to really bad.
Yeah. Clint Wilkinson says it feels like the team chemistry changed dramatically with the new transfers. We had a great team, and it feels like we went backwards. Yes.
I mean, again, yes, but kind of like we've talked about and Bill brought up, the issues were showing before Gomez left.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like bringing in new transfers and trying to get people to gel just kind of really either accelerated the process of Rouse Lake falling down.
Slow icing on the cake.
Yeah, or just kind of slowed down whatever progress Rouse Lake was having earlier in the year, I guess.
Yep.
Gerbo_RSL at Jeremy3 Walker says the chemistry is gone. Won't see it again until next year. Not blaming anyone specifically, but when you have so much downtime and 4 new players, it just takes time to get back. Gerbo, that's probably the most positive comment on here.
That's a nice level-headed take, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, we needed that, Gerbo. Thank you. Dan Clark at DMFC says, should have held on to Gomez till the end of the season. I'm going to disagree with that one, Josh.
I'm still disagreeing with that take as well.
I'm going to disagree with that one because if you go back to July and even the Leagues Cups game, Gomez just seemed checked out.
Yeah, that's what happens with players. We talked about this before. When you start hearing those rumors, you start hearing of the opportunity to leave, you want to go.
Right.
Right. And then you start essentially trying too hard to prove that you should go play there, which then takes away from the team. I mean, how many selfish opportunities did we see Gomez take where they were easy?
There was a big increase once Chicho got suspended.
Yep. So, and like we've talked about before, in the global soccer market, when an offer comes, that is when the offer is coming. Very rarely does that offer come again.
Right.
Right. These guys really have one opportunity, to go for the price you want him to go at. Right. Sure, he could have gone on and gone off and we maybe could have gotten some more money, but that's not really a risk the team or I would be comfortable taking. Right. Not that we're linked, but as a fan, I would want them to sell while the iron's hot. Right. And I get why the team did it. So, it does suck, but we have to do it at that point. And another factor that I don't know that all people think about is, when your agent's coming to you as Gomez going, hey, this team wants you, right? If RSL says no, what motivation does Gomez have to go out there and put in more good performances? What motivation does Gomez have to continue to give any kind of S's so you don't have to, cancel it out about playing for Real Salt Lake, right? So it's not just, should the team have sold him, but did he want to go?
Right.
And we know he wanted to go, so that's the right thing to do, is to let him move on and further his career when the opportunity is there for him to do so.
I think no matter what happens this season, if Rouse Lake can somewhat right the ship, enter the playoffs in a good spot, if Rouse Lake can't right the ship, barely make it into playoffs, or even a first round exit, I think no matter what happens, hell, they go on and win MLS Cup. No matter what happens, everybody's always going to have the what if question on if Andres Gomez stayed.
Right. That's hindsight, right?
It's never going to go away.
Right. And there's no way around it.
Yeah.
Right. What would the hindsight have been if we kept him, we didn't win MLS Cup, and he didn't move?
Right.
What could his career have been?
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, hey, if we go first round exit, that question's gonna be there. Oh, what if we kept Andres Gomez? How far could we gone in? How far could we have gotten in the playoff? You know, if Roslik doesn't right the ship and barely makes it in an eighth or ninth spot, oh well, what if Andres Gomez stayed and yada yada yada. You know, it's no matter what happens, that question's always going to be there. But we can't get caught up in hypotheticals.
Right. But let's also be completely honest with ourselves. Is there any way forward right now beating LA and LAFC to get to MLS Cup? Those two teams are so damn good. Even at our best, I don't know that we would beat them.
I would argue that LAFC right now are struggling to figure it out with Giroud.
Sure, but just the sheer firepower, right?
It'll come around. There's no doubt.
And in playoffs, the last guy I want to see is Giroud with Bouanga and Vela, and you know what I mean? Like,
oh my gosh,
it's not fair, right? Like our team, we could be hitting on every cylinder, looking as good as we did early in this year, and those guys would still punish us on anything, right? So I'm not saying we couldn't beat them, but I'm saying looking forward, I don't have a lot of hope because of what's in front of us at the moment.
And I mean, what we've seen over the course of the last month.
Yeah, the two together, right? If we were firing, I'd be like, oh, we could take them. They're old. But right now, they're going to embarrass us.
Noah and a bunch of numbers says most of our fan base has got it twisted. We were on a downward spiral even before selling Gomez. We talked about it.
Ding, ding.
Eric Diamond says we suck.
Yes.
That's it. That's all he said.
Shout out, Eric. Me and Eric go way back. High school teammates.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
El Dusty says we should have made more moves before the transfer window closed.
More moves in or out? That's what a hamburger's all about. I think we made plenty of moves in.
Defensively in. Maybe one more probably maybe could have helped.
But Vera wasn't hurt.
Okay, yeah, fair point.
And we boosted with Javane Brown, who is a stud. I'm standing by that. I'm a big fan. I would have liked to see a center back as well, but I don't think we see the quality of center back with the signings we just made. Right? So I was hoping that those guys, those normal starters in the back, could get healthy and get back together again, which hasn't happened. And that could really get us through, right? But come winter, defensive reinforcements ASAP, please.
Right. I think, and I'm going to backtrack on everything I said last week about Javane Brown. As long as Vera is out, no. As far as Vera, as long as Vera is out, he needs to be center back. Because if I watch one more game with Philip Quinton, I might.
I honestly, part of me inside was like, no matter how negative I am, I'm like, yeah, we could pull off a win. And then I saw the 11. Maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe they look at that same name or other players with a name that gives them that same, like, we have no shot, right? Because that's when I, like, again, no offense to the kid, does not give me any kind of hope that we're going to have a good performance.
Yeah. So I think as long as Vera's out, I think Javane needs to move to the middle, and we're just going to have to wing it with Brody or Hidalgo out there.
Yeah, and honestly, Bodie's fine. He can get the job done. So do it.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Barry Olty says we aren't quite the same without Gomez. Our defense is low quality, and we just re-signed Glad and Hidalgo. We lacked creativity and chemistry, and we look nothing like the team that played in the first third of the season. Are we ready to talk about Justin Glad?
I mean, we've been ready to talk about Justin Glad for years.
Because Jay Glad, as much as I love him, and as much as I think he's incredibly essential to this team, bro has not been anywhere near the All-Star performance that got him into the All-Star game to begin with. No. I have not seen All-Star Justin Glad since he got back from that injury.
Nope.
And that's worrisome.
And how many Jekyll and Hyde Glads are we going to get?
Yeah.
Right? Because if you ask me, hey, we need to restructure the defense, right? I think a lot of people assume, oh, Justin Glad's obviously there, right? No, not for me. Because we've basically taken every piece of the Justin Glad era, right, and the last ownership's era, and we've moved on, and we've gotten better in those areas.
There's been one consistent factor.
Two-ish. Your right back
Yes.
and your center back.
Well, then
right?
I guess throw Marcelo into that mix too.
Right, and he's. I mean, I wouldn't bring this I wouldn't bring him in because he didn't re-sign. Right. I don't think he'll be here next year. He's out of contract. It would be insane if we brought him back. Right. That's a topic for another day. But Justin Glad has been here so long, right, that until we move on from him and change, our center back partnership to go towards the future, we're kind of going to be stuck in this we're good and we're not good Jekyll and Hyde situation for a long time. We know what Justin Glad is. When he's good, he's incredible. When he's bad, we struggle. And every year we get about 50-50. I think if you want to rebuild the back line, you move on from the piece that's been there the longest. You can't tell me Justin Glad's better than Brian Vera.
No, I think that's a valid concern. All right. I think that's a valid statement.
I would want the new center back to come in to be better than Brian Vera and play next to Brian Vera. And then when Brian Vera leaves, you bring in a guy that's better than the new guy, right? And you build that way. But us signing Justin Glad to a long-term extension again, I don't know how long it was, I don't remember, but a couple more years, right? Does that signal that we're going to have Justin Glad and someone else forever? Or are we ever going to have Justin Glad be the third, right? It's kind of concerning.
I want to go back to a conversation. I don't know if we had it or if I had it with Jake, but I had it with one of you guys on a show a couple of weeks back where it might have been Jake, where we were talking about how, Brody's comfortable. And so we haven't really seen Brody progress.
No, it's time for him to move on as well. It's been time for him to move on. He needs to move, right? For his own career good.
Basically, we're now applying that to Justin Glad.
Mm-hmm.
He's been here long enough. He's comfortable.
He should have moved when he was 22 if he wanted to progress. But I think for the club to progress,
right,
we need to move on without Justin Glad. Hot take.
Very hot take coming in from Josh there.
And I love Justin Glad, right? This is nothing personal. This is just me looking at the roster and looking how to make it better. It's time to move on from a guy that's been there for ages and improve that position. A DP center back would be absolutely incredible, especially the right DP center back.
Hallmark at I Like Sports says selling Gomez and shattering the best team morale and chemistry in years was not good business.
Disagreeing. Disagreeing. Listen, if the team is so soft that losing their buddy for him to go make more money really bums him out that much,
then there's a bigger issue we need to address, right, if that's the case.
And yes, right, we lost the stretching in the field aspect. I get that. Again, to me, it was the right move, and we just need the coaching staff to adjust our style of play to address the fact that we don't have him stretching the field. Anderson Julio is a right winger, is he not?
Anderson Julio, yes, he is. He started off as a winger, but he has become our backup striker.
But there's your stretching the field on the right wing.
Not a bad idea.
Just saying, if you want a quick fix.
Ooh, anyway, that's not a bad idea, actually.
I digress.
All right. To conclude today's State of Emergency episode on Real Salt Lake, let's take a look ahead. It's a midweek match. Real Salt Lake taking on FC Dallas at home. No Chicho Arango, as he has picked up yellow card accumulation. No Alex Catranis, as he has picked up yellow card accumulation. And of course, Nelson Palacio may or may not be available, and Brian Vera may or may not be available.
I'm so sick of Chicho not being available due to some kind of suspension, man. How did his accumulation not drop off over all these games that he hasn't played?
That's the thing, is we're also haven't played games.
I know, it's just hard to remember because it's been months of this not very many games slog. But my God, how many games is he going to miss due to suspension?
I know.
This is what's going to cause him to not break the damn single season record. If you're not on the field, you're not going to break it.
It's unfortunate that
Rage, Alex.
it's unfortunate that we have to go another week without Chicho.
It's unfortunate for him. It's unfortunate for the team. It's unfortunate for the fans. It just sucks.
Yeah.
And guess what? We're going to lose.
You're going with the loss already. You predicted that right off for FC Dallas.
Until they prove to me that they care to play, we're going to lose. I have that little faith in them right now, which, as always, asterisk, hope I'm wrong, right? I would love them to get 3 points at home. But with how they've been playing, I can't comfortably say I think they'll get 3 points at home.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Look, this is an FC Dallas side who, to be frank, is not good.
San Jose was worst in the league, 2-0.
They are not good. You should not be losing to FC Dallas. And I was going to say, but you beat me to it. We had this conversation with San Jose.
Yeah. It's a must-win 3 points. It's an inexcusable 3 points to lose. So what's the RSL way? Let's go lose them.
They do have a decent midfield. Jesus Ferreira is back from injury. He's back in their lineup. Laramendi is a very phenomenal Spanish midfielder playing with Real Madrid for a couple years. Sebastian Lletget, former U.S. men's national team player. He hasn't been the best, but he's still good. It's a decent midfield. Defense is extremely leaky, and sometimes they're really hot where they can score really good goals, and then they go on streaks where they just can't score.
Yeah. You know whose fall off should also be studied?
FC Dallas?
That's legit.
Oh. Yeah.
The trade from LA to New England?
Yes.
That nuked his career.
Yes.
He had a pretty okay first couple games with New England. And then, man, he just hasn't been great.
What's his face? Bruce Arena really wanted his old buddy back. So he took him to New England. Which,
much like Eric Ten Hag, it's kind of apparent sometimes that maybe you shouldn't always just bring back all your ex-players and hope to win.
Yeah.
But
sometimes it works.
Sometimes, but yeah. A lot of times it doesn't.
Yeah.
But no, FC Dallas is a scary side, right? They may not be good, but they have guys that'll punish you.
Jesus Ferreira?
Right. I want to say RSL will get 3 points. I want to believe that. But until RSL proves to me that I can believe that, I really got to take me thinking they're going to get 3 points with a grain of salt.
I'm right there with you, man. I want to sit here and I want to say that this is a perfect opponent for us, to welcome into America First Field and get the 3 points and right the ship.
Right.
But we said that about San Jose. They didn't do it. We said that about New England. And I mean, hey, they got the 3 points.
It was muddy.
But then they bounced back with a 4-1 loss to Houston.
I would almost prefer us in this Wednesday game to be playing a playoff team that we know we have to go out there and beat. Right? So we can't mail it in per se and go, oh, this is an easy opponent.
Right.
Right. I feel like it would almost be better off and give me more confidence with a team coming in that should be beating us. Because then I might see RSL play with that chip on their shoulder again and go for that 3 points instead of having the mentality of we should get this easy win and then make it a struggle and potentially lose at home again.
Yeah. And look, I say this FC Dallas team is not good, but they're going to be coming in hungry, man. They're only 5 points away from that playoff line.
It's not far.
It's not far off.
They have everything to play for.
Exactly. They have everything to play for. They need to close that gap. They're going to want to close that gap. So I think they're going to be fired up, man. I think they're going to see this Real Salt Lake team who's struggling, and they're going to be fired up for this one. So it's going to be it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy.
And you know what's frustrating? Why is it always the teams, especially the RSL teams, that have to get fired up and hungry to make the playoffs? Why aren't we fired up and hungry to keep home field advantage? Why aren't we fired up and hungry to win first place in the West or being close in the race?
Yeah.
Right. What's the big difference there, and why is it so different? I don't get it.
You know, that's actually a valid point and a valid question, right? Why did it Was the team comfortable that they were safely in the playoffs?
I mean, it could be part of it, but at what point do you see yourself sliding, and do you not remember how to apply the brakes and go
Yeah.
back to your old ways? Like,
No, it's a valid point. Taking a look at the table at the top, LA Galaxy, big win in El Trafico this weekend.
they look so good.
They
They
did
look
look
so good.
And they came back. They were down 2-0 at the break.
Yeah,
Came
they're
back
unbelievable.
1-4-2. Really fun game there in El Trafico. Galaxy at the top with 55. LAFC kind of sliding at the moment. Thanks to Houston, thanks to the Galaxy. They currently sit at 48 in second. Now the new third place team in the West, the Colorado Rapids, with 47. Tied in fourth, Real Salt Lake with 47. Seattle Sounders just a point below them with 46. 2 points below them, the Vancouver Whitecaps with 6. And 3 points below Real Salt Lake, the Houston Dynamo with 44.
Just anger. The fact that we let Colorado catch us and essentially jump us in the table.
The fact that Houston is now 3 points behind us is terrifying.
But does that surprise you?
No. But it's
They're good.
terrifying.
Yeah.
That's 7th place and the 3 points behind. Portland Timbers in 8th with 40. Minnesota United in 9th with 39. And, of course, FC Dallas in 10th with 34. They're still fighting for that final spot. Coming up on Saturday, the Portland Timbers. It's going to be a tough week for Real Salt Lake. And I think if Real Salt Lake wants to inspire hope in the fan base, in us,
They better get 6 points.
it's a 6-point week.
Nothing less.
Anything less, and we're still.
I'm not accepting it.
Anything less, and you're still sliding down the table. I don't even care about me accepting it. I just don't want them to slide down the table even more.
Right. So 6 points. That's it. There's the show title. 6 points. That's it.
Josh, super salty episode, but extremely valid points. Anything else that you want to include or add or throw in here before we wrap this one up?
Just as always, as much as I get salty and angry, it comes from a place of love for this club, man. It's weird to say, and I know we've talked about it before, but sports in general and your favorite team and your local club, they can become a very important thing to a lot of people and a big part of their lives and a big source of their joy, and you never know what anyone's going through when they're watching sports, but for a lot of people it's an escape. So, when people get so passionate to an extent, right? Like, I get it. And that's where this comes from. I want people just to remember, especially new listeners that are probably like, Jesus, this guy's grumpy. Like, I am. Yeah. And it's because I care so much about this club that, like, I really feel it. Right. And I just hope everyone does the same. Like, I hope it's all from a place of, care and not just wanting to be a troll like Andy. So yeah, just, I love this club and I really hope they pull out of this slide. But for right now, they're really pissing me off, making me lose sleep. So yeah, that's where I'll leave it.
No, that's beautifully put. We do this because we care. We do this because we want to see our local team, our Salt Lake team, our Utah team be successful. Do it for the state of Utah, and that's why we love it.
Yep.
I'm glad you mentioned Andy because I was saving this one for the very, very, save the best for last, as they say. Hangry Hippo coming at us, and he said, since Andy stopped doing the RSL show, RSL has been in a tailspin. I blame at Andy Munoz.
Boom. Let's get him on the next episode, see if we can pull us out of a tail slide. If we lose at home Wednesday to Dallas, Andy, I'll text him right now. He has to come on the show Thursday or Friday so we can do a recap and see what happens on Saturday. We can test the theory.
Let's do it. Guys, thank you so much for listening, for supporting, and for following us for the best RSL content. So if you don't want to miss anything, make sure to go follow, go like, go subscribe, go do what you have to do to follow the RSL show on the KSL Sports Network for the best Real Salt Lake content.